Hi guys, it's SimLicy here, so welcome to another speed build. So today I am building another family home, and this time I am building one here in Oasis Springs, and I am using the new kit called Courtyard Oasis, and I am absolutely loving this kit. It is so pretty, the colors, the details, everything is just really pretty, and I'm having so much fun with it. I already shared a base game and the kit only build. I did an apartment inspired by the objects, and now I am building this large family home. This house took me so long. As you guys can probably tell, the video is like 30 minutes long, and I actually built the exterior, well, like the front of the exterior once before, but I fiddled around with it so many different times that I decided just to take screenshots and redo it. And I'm so happy that I did, because it's very similar to how I started off with, but it's a little bit different, and I'm actually really happy with my changes. So it was a good choice. It's something I really don't like to do very often, but I'm glad I did it this time. And yeah, the house ends up being a really large family home. You could fit 6 Sims in here really easily. If you wanted to fit like some bunk beds in 1 or 2 of the kids' rooms, you could easily fit 8 Sims in here if you would like to, but comfortably 6, I think. There is a master bedroom with its ensuite bathroom, so you could fit 2 parents in there. And then there's also a toddler's room, a child's room, and then 2 teen rooms. One of them I was thinking was more of like a child that had just aged up into a teen, and then the other teen room I was thinking they're almost gonna be a young adult. But I mean, you could easily switch those up depending on the family and their ages. I think there's a lot of different possibilities. And yeah, there is a courtyard area, of course, because I mean, it's the Courtyard Oasis kit, so it's pretty necessary. And then there's an office space. There is a piano, sort of lounge room. There's like also a chess table room. It's just basically a hallway that I put a chess table in. You guys will see what I'm talking about when we move on to the interior. But then there's a dining room, a pretty large kitchen. There is a bubble blower room, which I thought was pretty perfect. And then there's also a living room. I couldn't remember what else. It's a really large house. So there's lots of different rooms, lots of different activities, and I just had so much fun building in this style. It's very different than what I'm used to, but I think it's just really beautiful, and it's fun just going through the catalog and finding different pieces from different packs that I think suit this style and just kind of go nicely together with this style and kind of mesh them all together. So hopefully you guys will like what I did. And I actually forgot that that pergola existed. I saw it in a screenshot that the Sims shared on their Twitter page, like shortly after the pack was released. And I was like, oh, that's a cool thing that's coming with the pack. And then when I got the pack, I didn't see it in there. And then I remembered that it was a base game item that came with an update at some point when we got all of the, I forget exactly what it was called, but we got a bunch of sort of Spanish themed items. And I just completely forgot that this pergola existed. So I immediately found it in the catalog and I placed it down because I didn't want to forget about it, because I knew I wanted to place it somewhere. And so I make a nice little patio outdoor barbecue / bar area with an outdoor dining table. And then I also include a swimming pool back here with a sand pit and some kids activities. There's the toddler swimming pool, there's a swing set. So even though this backyard ends up being very small, I was able to fit a lot of different activities, because having a courtyard really makes your build like take up like a whole lot so easily. I'm really happy that I decided to build this on a 30 by 40 lot, because I think I almost started building it on a 30 by 20, and that just, it wouldn't have been big enough for this house, or at least what I wanted to create. So I think this was a good size, but honestly the lot could have been a little bit bigger, so I could have had a bigger yard. And yeah, I think that mostly has to do with the courtyard, because honestly it takes up so much space, but it's totally necessary, like I said, and it ends up being so pretty. I put the new fountain in there, and I'm really happy with the way that looks. And I really like the star pattern that I put underneath of it that you'll see here in just a moment. It's really pretty. I end up using it actually underneath the parents' bed as like a rug, and I think that looks really nice in there. And I think I also end up using it in the living room too. I use it quite a few times, but it's so pretty. But anyways, the shape of the house has basically came together. I think this is the last area that I build onto the exterior, and then I move on to the floor plan. And I actually don't finish the landscaping. I finished that at the end of the video because I just really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And like I've said countless times, it's sometimes a lot better just to finish the interior, or at least do the floor plan before you finish the exterior. So Yeah, it worked out for me in this build. I mean, actually the floor plan came together really easily. So even if I was to finish all of the landscaping, it wouldn't have been a big deal because I really don't think I changed anything about the exterior. If I remember correctly. I don't think I did, but yeah, the floor plan came together so easily, and I'm really happy because I wasn't sure about the shape of the house, and some of it is a little bit similar to the base game build, at least like the location of, I think just the living room actually, and the piano area. That's pretty similar, but the rest of it is pretty different, which I'm happy about because I think I was a little bit worried about it being too similar, just kind of working around the courtyard, but I was able to make enough changes. And I mean, this one is 2-story, whereas the base game only build was a 1-story build. But anyways, here I'm just adding a couple of decorations out here by the swimming pool. I add a couple of these really beautiful potted plants. I love these so much. The only thing I don't like about them though is when you place them on the interior, they have such a harsh shadow. And I don't know why this happens. I'm sure there's some like logical reason behind it because there's lots of plants in the game that have great lighting exterior wise, but when you go to place them on the interior of a build, they just are so dark and it makes them almost unusable on interiors. So I was able to use it in the base game only build and it didn't bother me too much, but in this build it just was way too dark and I'm not sure what the difference was necessarily. I don't know if it's like the lighting on this lot in particular because I didn't do anything different and I'm still using the same reshade, so I'm not sure. But anyways, here I'm just adding some of this tile and I'm not sure if I've mentioned yet how much I like this tile. I've used it in, well, the base game only build and the apartment that I did, and it's just so pretty and there's so many different options. And actually I saw on Twitter recently that you can use the Control F key to get the quarter tile. I'm not sure if you guys know about that, but you can get a little triangle piece of any floor tile if you hit those keys. And I didn't even think about it, but when placing these floor tiles, you can use that to complete the corners on like an inside corner. And so I'm gonna have to do that here in this build before uploading it to the gallery, because I don't know if you guys will notice, but just in front of the refrigerator where the corner meets the tile, it's not complete and I wasn't sure how to fix it, but I saw it over on Twitter and so now I know how to fix it and hopefully I remember. But if not, it's an easy fix for you guys if you decide to download this build. But here I am starting off by decorating the kitchen. Now I tried to decorate this house at least 6 times, which is really ridiculous. I started off with the entryway, I started off with the living room, and I just couldn't get like how I wanted this house to look because I wanted to do something different than the base game only build, but I wanted to bring some of like the elements that I did in that build because I liked it so much, but I wanted this one to be more neutral and not use as like many patterns and colors as I did in that one. And so it took me a while to kind of get that figured out basically. And so once I started with the kitchen, it came together a lot easier. I do end up switching the color of the counters again. I switch it to a dark brown with white tops. It just looked a little bit cleaner and more just simpler in my opinion. I just wanted something that was less colorful and the red wood was just a little bit too colorful for what I was going for at the moment. And I just actually really like this kitchen. I think it ends up being really pretty. I tried to put a small dining table on the other side of the island, but it just looked a little bit crowded, so you'll see me try that here in just a moment. But for now, I'm just picking out some wallpaper because I'm using the tallest wall height and I have the platform raised up a couple. You can't really see much of the tile behind the counters, but I think it's just enough pattern that it's not like overpowering, and that's kind of more what I was going for in this build. So I think it actually worked out really nicely, but at first I was kind of disappointed that I couldn't see more of it. But that's just how it worked out with the height of the floors and the walls and everything. But anyways, as you saw, I tried to add a dining table, but it just looked so busy and I liked how open this kitchen was and you can see more of the flooring and it's just so pretty. But in here, I decided to use some black appliances. I'm pretty sure that's what I did in the apartment and I really liked it. I think it just kind of tones down some of the patterns and brings in some more like modern elements to it. It makes it just feel a little bit newer. I'm not sure if you guys agree, but that's how I was feeling. But there's a dishwasher, there's a teapot, and then a few clutter items. But honestly, I didn't clutter it up too much. I didn't feel like this build needed like tons of clutter. It still feels like fully decorated and there was like basically something to add in every location of this build, but there's not like a bunch of like tiny little clutter pieces. But I think it looks really nice and I'm so happy with that kitchen. And then over here is going to be the living area. And I really like using this tile as rugs, by the way. You guys probably noticed in the base game build, I did it a ton, and then I'm doing it a lot in this build. It's just a great way to kind of fill in the area. And we do have some rugs from like City Living that go nicely with these items, but I don't know, I think the floor tile actually works a lot nicer. And this painting of the elephant from City Living is so perfect. I actually sized it up, and it's sized up to be pretty big. I mean, I think it actually works here, but I think if I would have had like the tool mod installed, I would have made it just a tiny bit smaller, because it sizes up so big. But it didn't bother me too much, and the painting is just absolutely perfect for this build. And I love the red colors. I thought it went well with the couches because some of the pillows are red and they're also gold. And so I ended up adding a ton of gold in this build. And that was mostly inspired by the apartment that I did, because I used a lot of gold accents in that one. And I just had to bring it into this build because the gold just looks so pretty with all of these different items. And plus there's tons of gold that came in the kit too. So it just works so nicely together. But yeah, over here I just put a side table with I think I just put a lamp on it, or some candles, I couldn't remember. And then I put some of those little lanterns, and that's it for the living room. Over here is going to be the chess table room, like I mentioned. So it's basically just a hallway, but I thought it would be nice to add an activity in here so the room isn't completely useless. And so I used some of the tile again and put it on the center as a rug basically. And then I put the chess table right in the middle, and I think it looks so perfect. And then we also got this chess table from City Living, and the chairs that match it are perfect for this build because of the pretty intricate design on it. Just it pairs so nicely with these items. And then I also do like a little seating area in here and add some like artwork and a side table and basically just fill it in so it feels fully decorated. And it just took me some time basically to find the different items. But honestly, City Living, if you really like this kit and you don't have that pack, that's like my #1 that I could recommend, because there's so many different items from that pack that I used in this build that just go so nicely with with this kit. I mean, there's a lot of different styles that came in City Living, but there is a lot that are pretty Moroccan themed, or at least have, elements of that area, and they just pair really nicely. So yeah, I was really happy about that. But over here, I do end up adding a side table, just a base game one. I end up using a lot of this kind of like goldy, orangey, wood-toned base game furniture. I use it throughout the whole build. I used it also in the base game only build because it's just so perfect, and it just like, as soon as I like saw it in the catalog, it just immediately drew my eye to matching these items. I don't know if you guys agree, but yeah, I used it a ton. The dining table, that side table, I end up putting a dresser here by the piano. It's all part of like the same sort of style and same color. But over here is the dining room. Now, originally I was going to leave this all one big room, but I end up actually separating it with a wall and some of those archways, just because I was really kind of struggling decorating this room. You'll see me fiddle around with it for quite a while. Basically with that like hutch and trying to find like, I don't know, you'll see me mess with it. But I think this room ends up being really pretty. I love this base game painting, by the way, with the gold frame. I thought it was so perfect. And here on this dresser, I use this decorative plate from Parenthood with a lamp, and then a couple of vases from base game 2. And yeah, I just thought this looked so pretty over here. Oh, I don't keep the plate. The plate actually is really pretty, but I guess I decided to get rid of it. But over here, I forgot that I placed that same hutch, so I placed it again. But I was just kind of struggling, shuffling things around and trying to find the right place for this door and for the hutch that I really wanted to include. And so I think separating the spaces was the best thing that I could have done, just because it made it a lot easier for me to decorate. I've mentioned this a lot of different times before also, that I struggle decorating long, narrow rooms. I find it a little bit awkward sometimes to place things, especially to make them like feel centered and balanced, and it's just kind of a process. But I think I made it work, so hopefully you guys will like it too. It just took me a little while, but I really like the way this room turned out, and like the view from the hallway looking into the dining room is so pretty. I took a screenshot in there, and it's probably my favorite screenshot. it's just, it's like a really beautiful point of view. I don't know if you guys will agree on that also, but you'll see it in the screenshots. But here I decided to use this plant that came from the paranormal stuff. I thought that looked pretty perfect, and I just put it over in just over in the corner there. And then I used this rug from City Living underneath the dining table, which is also pretty perfect. I did think for a moment about making the dining table bigger, but then once I thought about adding the wall, I didn't have the space for it. And I'm really pleased with adding the wall because it just worked out so much better. And then over here in the corner, I decided to use that smaller coffee table that came from the kit, and I put some flowers on it. And then I just hang up a piece of artwork over here, and that's it for the dining room. And then over here is going to be the entryway. So in here, I really didn't want to add like a ton of clutter and decorations. So all I added was the little umbrella rack, a coat rack, and then like one painting and a decorative pot. And then I also added the tile, the same tile that I used in the bathrooms and the kitchen. And I put that on the staircase, and I thought that was a great way to add some like extra detail without adding extra clutter and making it feel too busy and like overly decorated. So I was pretty happy with the way that came together. But over here is going to be the downstairs shared bathroom. So in here there's a toilet, a sink, a bathtub, basically all of your necessary bathroom items. And yeah, I think it came together really nicely. I end up using a lot of the same decorations throughout all of the bathrooms in the build just to make it feel really cohesive, but they're all so different from one another, which I really like as well, because sometimes bathrooms can be a bit repetitive, especially in the same build, because if you like to build how I build, where I like all of the bathrooms to sort of match each other, sometimes they can all end up looking the same. But in this build, they look the same but different, so I'm happy about that. But either way, over here is going to be the home office. So for the longest time, I wasn't sure what I was going to do with this room. Once I saw that bookcase though, a little like earlier on in the speed build, I placed it in here thinking that it would be a great spot to put an office. And then it just felt so closed with that door, so I decided to add one of these archways with the wood doors on them. And I'm so happy that I did, because if you're in this room, then you can see into the courtyard. And then if you're in the courtyard, you can see into this room, and it just feels so spacious and open, and it just flows so nicely. I'm sure you guys probably know by now, but that's my favorite way to do floor plans, is adding archways instead of a bunch of doors. I do it all the time. Sometimes I make my own archways using spandrels and columns, and it just makes everything feel open and spacious without being too open, if you guys get what I mean. It still feels like everything has its own place. But something I did is I used these wood shuttered doors twice. I overlapped them so the wood doors were on both sides of the wall and not just one side. And I think that looks so much better in my opinion. And yeah, there's like a little bit of glitch where they overlap, but it's not too bad. They actually overlap really nicely, and they totally function. Your Sims can still walk through them. And then over here is going to be the courtyard, of course. So in here, I just put tons of plants. I do a seating area around the fountain. And I thought about adding like a table and some other things, but I didn't want it to be too crowded and like busy looking. I thought simpler was a little bit better. And also I looked at like tons of pictures on Pinterest of inspiration of different Moroccan courtyards, and basically it just looked like a lot of them had, of course, lots of plants, but just lounge areas around either a fountain or a pool or something. And so I just felt like that looked really nice and worked better than adding too many things. But over here is going to be the bubble blower room, which I thought was absolutely perfect. The bubble blower did come from City Living. So yeah, like I mentioned, if you are looking for a pack that has more of like this style and items that go with this kit, then definitely City Living is a good one. And also the paranormal stuff actually has lots of really good items as well. I've used a lot of those items in the apartment that I did and some in this build too, but definitely City Living is the best, I think. But anyways, over here is going to be the master bedroom. So I decided to go with this bed that came from Island Living, which is also another pack that goes well with these items too. I didn't use too many in this build, but honestly, all of them would probably go really nicely with this pack. And of course, Jungle Adventure 2 also pairs nicely. Basically, all of our more like hot weather themed packs all go pretty well. I mean, City Living isn't really a hot weather themed, but it just has lots of items that are in this style. But anyways, I'm just kind of repeating myself now. But here I do add this beautiful mirror from City Living. I also add a vanity just because I had space. And then I put a dresser in here. I do a little side table that came from Jungle Adventure, and I put some kind of like bathroom decorations up on top of it. And this base game painting that I put above that table is so pretty. And then I also used these little kind of ottoman poofs. They came from Island Living. I put them at the end of the bed. I thought that looked really pretty. And yeah, in here I just used some City Living artwork. So I used this elephant again. I was kind of repetitive with this artwork just because there's basically only 2 swatches that really work for this style, and so I used both of them several different times. So forgive me, but there's just not really a ton of artwork that goes well with this kit. I wish that we would have got like 1 or 2 pieces in the kit itself. I think that would have made it a lot easier, but I think I still made it work. But over here is going to be the ensuite bathroom to the master bedroom. I used an archway, so the bathroom is like all open to the bedroom, which I really like. It feels very fancy and very just master bathroom to me. But in here I used the shower that came from Discover University, and I used it in this gold color, which I thought was absolutely perfect. And I put 2 of them next to each other, so it's a double shower, which is also pretty fancy, I think. And yeah, this bathroom came together so easily, and I was really happy with it. And it's probably my favorite bathroom out of the whole build. And honestly, it's probably one of my most favorite bathrooms I've ever done, even though it's pretty small, like compared to some of the bathrooms that I've done in like more like mansion builds. But I don't know, I really like it all the same. But anyways, here I am moving on to the 2nd floor. So this is going to be basically the kids' floor, basically. There's 2 bathrooms up here. There's the shared one and then the ensuite to the teens room. And then here at the landing, I do one of these little building block tables, which I thought looked really nice up here. And then I add like a few other decorations, some paintings, some lights, a side table. That corner shelf decoration that we have from base game was actually really perfect for this build. I use it several different times, as you guys can probably tell, but I like the gold decorations on it, and just the color was absolutely perfect. And then I put some lanterns over here, a plant in the corner. I do end up switching out that painting for a base game one, and then I think that's all I do, because I wanted to use the painting in one of the bedrooms instead. But over here is going to be the shared bathroom. So this bathroom I also really like, but the ensuite is still my favorite. I decided to use the shower and tub combo that came from the vampires pack, because it had the gold and the white, and it just paired nicely with the items and kind of matched the theme that I was going for. And then here I'm just adding some clutter items up on the vanity counter, and then I add a rug, and that's it for the bathroom. So it came together really quickly, but I really like it. And then these bedrooms took me so long to figure out what I wanted to do. So I quickly just placed some beds down to kind of get an idea of where I wanted the beds to go and what beds I was going to use. And here I decided that I did want to create a toddler's bedroom. So I put a couple of toddler potties in some of the bathrooms. And then later on, I do add a high chair in the kitchen, just so if you wanted to use a high chair, then you have one available. But yeah, here I'm just picking out the beds. I do end up, I think, changing the colors to one of them and then switching out one of the beds for a different one, just because it didn't end up going with the themes I was going for, because I actually tried to decorate these rooms a few different times and they were not coming together. And my biggest struggle was basically trying to make them feel cohesive with the rest of the build while still feeling like kids' rooms, because honestly, we just don't have a lot of kids' items that go well with this Moroccan style. So I tried my best, but this is going to be the teens room. And what I decided to do was just base the rooms more off of a color rather than trying to make them look like kids' rooms. And I think that ended up working a lot better for me in the long run anyways. So this room is more yellow, so I tried to find decorations that were yellow but still felt like youthful and like a teen could live in this room. And yeah, it's a pretty small room, but I was able to fit in everything that I wanted to, except for a dresser. I think I forgot a dresser in this room now that I'm looking back. So if you wanted to get rid of the desk or the bookcase, then you could probably include a dresser, but honestly, you don't totally need one. They're not completely necessary, but I still try to include them because I mean, they feel realistic, and you would probably have a dresser in your room, but maybe there's like a closet somewhere that we just can't see and we can pretend it exists. I don't know, but anyways, yeah, this is basically it for this room. And then I do quickly decorate the ensuite bathroom. And in here, I just use the same items that I used in the other bathrooms. I use the same shower that I used in the ensuite. I use the same toilet, but in here I do use a different sink. Again, I used another vampire item just because this bathroom was so small. I didn't really have like a lot of space to use a lot of different, basically I couldn't use like a full vanity, so that was a great way to save some space. And then over here is going to be another teen/kids room. When I first started decorating it, I was planning on it being a child's room, but it felt more like a teen's room to me by the time I was done. So I think they have just recently aged up into a teen. And also the other teen's room, I think they're about ready to become a young adult. At least that's the feeling I was getting. But anyways, in here I used more like browns and like that kind of pinky red color. I thought it matched really well with this painting. And I also end up using the keyboard in here, so I feel like this sim is really into music. And other than that, I didn't really add too many other like skill building items. There is a computer desk in here, and there is a dresser in this room, even though I forgot it in the other one. But yeah, it's a nice, simply decorated room. There's not too many like cluttered items and posters. There is one poster, but like I said, I was just kind of struggling finding items that suited like the style of the build, but also felt like a teen's room or a kid's room. But yeah, I still think I made it work like I mentioned. Over here though, it's going to be another kid's room. This one I think is actually a child sim, and they are really into like space and science and stars and astronomy. And this bed just always reminds me of that because it has like a little star detail on the like the drapes around the bed. And so I use the science table, I put that in here, and basically in here I just wanted to use a lot of blue and purple. I end up using that elephant painting here in the bed. I thought that was really pretty, and then I just tried to find other decorations that were like space related basically. This room though was the easiest for me to find items that suited the style of the build, even though I used more like kid related items and like posters and less Moroccan looking items. I still think it kind of works. It feels like a kid's room, but it still feels like it belongs in this build, which I was really trying to go for. And so yeah, I really like this room. I think the toddler's room though is probably my favorite just because it ends up being so cute and it's a toddler's room. This room though looks the least like this style of build because we just really don't have anything. I mean, it kind of does, but we really just don't have a lot of items, like I was saying, that go with this style. But I made it green and it worked really nicely because it ended up pairing really nicely with these curtains, and we have that little kids painting of an elephant, which also kind of goes with the theme of this build, so I was pretty happy about that. But the walls just felt so blank, and I was struggling finding other artwork to use in here, and so I do end up using a base game kids wallpaper with some like grass and stuff on it, and I was really trying to avoid that because so far in this whole build I'd used either that like plaster wallpaper or just the wallpapers from the kit itself, and so I just had to go with something else to add some other like detail on the walls. But over here is going to be the outdoor dining area. So like I was saying, I have this barbecuer, I have an outdoor bar area, and then I do the outdoor dining table as well, and I add like some clutter pieces around, some plants and other decorations. But I really like this area. It's definitely my favorite of like the whole outdoor area, and I'm so happy that I remembered this pergola, or the Sims team reminded me that this pergola even existed. So I'm gonna have to use it a lot more often. I actually have been thinking about redoing some of my builds in Selvadorada for my save file, just because some of them I'm not really that happy with anymore. I mean, I'm not sure if I will do that anytime soon or what, because I mean, I still have a lot of builds to do for my save file that should probably be a higher priority than redoing ones I've already done. But it is something I would like to do eventually. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But here I'm just finishing up the outdoor dining patio area, and then I quickly add a trash can. So over here by the swimming pool, I do add a toddler swimming pool. I add a floaty to the swimming pool, and then I place the swing set over here. I do get rid of it for the time being just because I wasn't sure if I was going to add it because it just felt a little bit crowded. But once I started adding the other items, I just felt like it was kind of necessary, and I wanted an activity for the kids to do, or at least the child sim to do, that was yeah, just a little bit more for them to do. But anyways, over here I do add the sand pit area like I was talking about. So this is the sand that came from Island Living, so your Sims can dig in it and build sand castles, which I thought would be pretty fun. And then I also added dollhouse in there too, because I thought that would be really cute. And then for the landscaping, I decided just to use these simple base game plants from the regular build catalog and not the debug menu or the live edit objects, just because I felt like they looked nice here, and I used only like a few number of plants just to keep the landscaping really simple and cohesive. And I think it actually worked out really nicely, and that was the part of the build that I was kind of dreading the most because I pretty much had no idea what I wanted to do with the landscaping, but I think it actually ended up looking really pretty. So hopefully you guys will agree. And yeah, I'll just finish up the landscaping here in the front, and then I'll add some exterior lighting to the build, and then this will basically be it for the whole build. And yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. I hope you guys enjoy the screenshots. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and please leave any comments or suggestions that you have, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye!